Kakank.
It was just getting to the part where like something was going to happen.
I know, man. You know,
the fairy princess was going to come out or something was going to be revealed, and it's just like, two dudes.
Father, is that you?
Wings. Where are my wings? My flight.
Yeah, there's something about this new thing I put together. It doesn't transition smoothly. It kind of just goes to zero, and then it's like, meh.
Do they have other transitions besides the
soaring? Well, I made that one, so we could always.
You made that?
Yeah, I made that one.
Playing the violin?
Well, I mean, you know, I put it together.
Wow.
But the 30-second. The 30-second one with the snowfall that blends really well into what we're doing. So sorry for the abrupt stop. Hello, hey, what's up, Mama Carla? Welcome everybody. Welcome all and sundry back to your favorite pandemic podcast. Pencil to
third year running.
Third year running. Okay. Has it been 3 years? That's crazy.
We're in a third. This is going into the third year of the pandemic.
That's ridiculous. It is, but that is true.
What will happen when there's no pandemic? Will we fade?
Video over.
Fade like gold.
No, I think we'll always be in people's hearts in some fashion. We'll make it work.
We'll always be infecting people, is what you're saying?
Hey, Bob.
Hi, Mom.
Welcome, you guys, to the podcast. For people who haven't been here before, let me tell you what's going on. This lovely live streaming project is a sister project of Mike Manley over there, Mike Manley's Draw magazine, which has been in print for almost over 10 years, almost 20, right? How long has Draw been around?
2000.
What? That's blowing my mind, yo. And we had this thought a long time ago. It's like, yo, I wish there was a way we could do more of this more often. And voila, here we are.
Well, it just seems like a good idea. A lot of people were switching over. The youngsters, they want the podcast.
They want the pods in the cast.
Who wants to look at paper when I can watch?
Right. And and here we are. And luckily, the technology caught up to what we were trying to do. We were doing an audio podcast with kind of like limited results. We were doing them on Skype at one point, and sometimes some of the audio was really, really bad.
Well,
and sometimes it were amazing.
I mean, I've been doing this so long that when I started with Draw, I had a tape recorder, and I'd call people on the phone and I'd tape it. Then I would send that, it would get transcribed, and then it would come back, right? So you would get this transcribed thing that then you would edit, and you would send it to the person, and they would go like, "What? I said that? I said this thing? No." And then they would make their, and then we went from that to, well, they stopped making tape, right? So we went to Skype and recording on Skype. But of course, every time you went to use Skype, it's like, you have no Skype dollar. You had to download a version of Skype and was all jacked up and like, what was my screen name? I don't
Skype dollars.
Skype, right. So, yeah, this is now you can Zoom and record just the audio, and it saves it as a movie. So yeah, I mean the technology. And in 5 years, no one will do podcasts. Just like everybody was doing blogs. Like I started my blog back in 95 or 96, a long time ago. Now nobody, and everything was blogs for a long time. Blog. Now people are doing the new version of blog, which is that Substack.
The Substack, yeah.
Blog.
Yeah.
Right, but you don't call it a blog because, ew, that's old. Right.
Ew, you got the blog touch. Ew.
Right. I was talking. I was on Zoom right before this. We were talking, and they just brought back another record pressing plant because people want to buy records.
Yeah, vinyl's back in fashion.
Vinyl's back, and cassette tapes are back because people want to make cassette tapes. People like being able to make the mix. I still got a bunch of old mixtapes that I did back in the day. So I think companies decide, oh, well, we're not making the driver for that. We're not making this thing here. We're not going to make that anymore. You got to go buy
Right.
the new thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're forcing you to adopt.
And if you think about it, Mike, even with the new tech, like there's hardly any Apple products that have a optical disc drive in them anymore.
I was just talking to our buddy Chris Marion before this. He had a Wacom tablet he bought used. Has a CD, and his computer doesn't have a CD.
Yeah.
And so it's like, shit, how do I get this on my, well, now I got to have an outside thing. And then that probably means that if you bought something that your stuff came on a CD, it is not compatible with the current system that you have. So
yeah, I mean and I was going through that a little earlier in the season, where like I told you my iMac gave up the ghost, and just trying to get new stuff turns into this huge snowball of having to replace other things, because now your printer won't talk to the new computer, or your scanner doesn't work anymore, because you know what I mean. It's such a
don't update. As soon as you hit that system update,
no.
Oh man, yeah. So what you have to do when you, we were just talking about this because he's trying to get some new stuff. Like I'm at Catalina on my machine, right? This machine can't go any further than that.
Right. That's the end of the road for that. Yeah.
So whatever I can do to Catalina, I can do, because the chip is the old chip. So if I go buy something new, some new software, won't work on it. So it's like a whole chain thing. Then you got to get a new Wacom tablet. You got to get adapters now because they don't have the HDMI port in the back of your computer. It's like all the stuff you don't even think about as an artist that actually greatly affects your ability to work in the business, because the companies push all that on you. If you're in-house, they do it. Like when you go to college, they got guys every year at UArts who go through and update all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And make sure that everything can work. But when you're on your own,
no, your old bootleg disc of Photoshop 4 isn't going to work anymore.
Oh yeah, I was talking to Brett the other day because he was talking to me. He still has CS4 on one of his computers, and I'm like, I mean, if you just want to run it on the computer,
sure.
But when that computer bites the dust,
that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure you've come into incompatibility things, or you might get a file from somebody and it's like, this won't read because it's an older version of, InDesign or what have you. So, but, and this also brings us to our topic tonight, because we're going to be talking about digital and traditional. But before we get to Alberto, let me pay the water bill. The John above us. I didn't even intro us, but I'll do that. The John above us is our buddies at Graphics League, who make Clip Studio Paint. Yes, that Clip Studio Paint, the digital software that almost every cartoonist is using these days. And also our good buddy John Morrow over at Tomorrow's Publishing, who is the publisher of Draw Magazine, and also one of our fine
and a retro fan and a million. And he probably go there right after the podcast. I bet you John has a sale.
I bet you. You'll bet me money.
Probably has a sale. Now, I know he had a draw bundle for a long time when we were clearing out all our hard copies of the magazine. But there is always a digital bundle.
Oh, that's right. That never goes.
Out there who don't dig the paper.
So let me introduce myself. Hello, my name is Jamar Nicholas, cartoonist in good standing, and also my favorite nickname of the day, Mike, John Luke Picard.
Okay.
And you like that one? And I'm joined at the proverbial hip by my best bud and Master Chief of Comics Illustration, Michael Manley.
I'm trying to get a promotion.
Say hi, Mike.
Promotion.
You try to be a what do you call it? A Eagle General or whatever.
I'm trying to be a colonel Full bird Colonel.
Full. That's what I meant. Full bird. I'm gonna call you Full Bird Manley.
Full bird Colonel. Got to get down to Cape Canaveral. Got to launch some pages.
I love it. Full bird. So, Mike, what's good?
Well, in about 2 weeks, I will be able to announce something new. So mum's the word on that. A new endeavor. In the meantime, I'm continuing to endeavor on both comic strips, and I'm looking at my calendar. 2022 is over. I'm just here to tell everybody, buy your Christmas cards now.
Like the doomsday clock come to life. That's
right.
I
mean, it's time flies faster the older that you get.
Yeah, that's truth. And to that point, and we're gonna get Alberto up in his seat. He's about to come in. Thinking about time flying and going back to some of the early stages of Draw Magazine, our boy Alberto had a column in Draw Magazine, did he not?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got to know Alberto back during the drawing board. We've talked about that website that had the everybody. Alberto was on there. Shane Glein was on there. Was a ton of people. Cheeks. I think that's how people ended up seeing Sean Galloway's work.
It was a drawing board. Yeah,
and Alberto was on there. I was on there. Paul Ravoche was on there. There was a lot of, again, mixing of in the early internet before the polarization. There was a real mixing for a while of professionals and aspiring amateurs and fans. Not so much now. I think things are a little bit more demarcated. And then what after that, then all the various things started coming in, and
which kind of separated the soup a little bit, right? It watered down the stew in its own way, right?
Yeah, and then people started going off and sort of having their own domains and a message board on their thing, and then you had whatchamacallit, everybody got their own page.
The message boards, is that what you're talking about?
No, on I forget. I haven't been there in so long. I even forget. I constantly forget.
DeviantArt, MySpace.
Yeah. Right.
DeviantArt,
and then you had after like DeviantArt was the beginning. I think the real beginning of the split. Right. And then you Tumblr. Right. Now Tumblr, DeviantArt's dead. Tumblr is dead.
LiveJournal.
Right. LiveJournal, blogs. Right. You had all these different niches that people would. So you started kind of like cutting the stream, and you have these people now are over on this platform. These people are over. There's some people are on Reddit. Some people are on,
Oh, remember Comic Space? Remember, like that was remember that the MySpace takeover?
Yeah. Is MySpace even still there? Is there still a?
I think for a while people were still using it for music, but I think it's kind of dead in the water at this point. But to all that, I mean, as technology keeps moving back and forth, there's such a strong need for the traditional. And our guest Alberto Ruiz, beyond like his column in Draw Magazine was all tech. It was all like using Illustrator in your work.
Yeah. And Alberto really used Illustrator in a way. When I first saw it, I didn't think it was Illustrator.
Right. It's like a magic trick, right?
Right. Because usually when you first see Illustrator, you go, that looks like Illustrator, or that looks like Photoshop. And when I first saw Alberto's stuff, it was like, how is he doing that? Is that a digital thing? What was? But Alberto had great design chops because he came from working in design. In textiles. But when we bring him in, he can reveal his origin.
Well, you guys, I am a titter in anticipation. You see what I did there? Alberto's a dear friend and also a master of the art form. Like I said on the sign.
Entrepreneur. Very entrepreneurial. Yeah.
Self-publisher, publisher, book publishers, back around again. He's done almost everything in the business, and he's one of the greats. Let's bring him in. Alberto Ruiz, welcome to the podcast. Oh, hold on, let me get the cake. All right, there you go.
Render.
Yo.
What's up?
What's up? Sorry we talked so long, bro. I think you drew that whole thing.
I was enjoying it. I was almost teary-eyed listening to the whole litany of the drawing board and all those deviant art. Man, is that still a thing?
Yes, deviant art's still going. I hear.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it kind of died, and then didn't somebody buy it?
Not sure, Mike.
But you were on the.
I still have I think I still have a spot there that I never been there like 20 years.
It's still sitting there, right?
It's still there. Yeah. So once in a while I get somebody's like, "Hey, give you an art." I didn't even know my password, so I can't even get back if I want. But I didn't know. I also, when I asked that, is it still a thing? Is because I thought he sort of died a while ago, and I'm not familiar, and I don't know if it's still people are actually going there and it's viable, isn't viable.
Well, I think it kind of died, and then you know how it is. Like something will die, like skateboards will kind of die off, and then another group of kids will go like skateboards, and then it'll kind of come back, and it's like it just keeps doing that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I still have it. Probably never get back in it because I don't know what we had. We used to have a lot of back in the days. We used to come up with our own screen names. If you remember, it's like I was Dr. Cyberfunkin, and that's
right. Yeah, right. Dr. Cyberfunkin, right? Yeah.
I forgot
I don't know
about
what
that.
you were. What were you? Monster Man? No.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Monster Man.
Monster Manley, something like that. Yeah.
So the weird thing about that is, I remember the first time I went to San Diego, right? I actually had a little badge that said Dr. Cyberfunkin because no one knew anybody's name. Everybody from the board, right? So at one point I was walking around the floor and then this kid comes up and says to me, Dr. Cyberfunkin. I go, what? Then I look, I got my bag. I got my badge with the delivery. Yeah, I did that. And then I looked at him, and I didn't recognize the face, right? Because we only see avatars of each other. So I looked at I didn't want to sound like I was mean or like I didn't remember the guy or like I'm not acknowledging. So I looked at his badge while he's giving me a hug, and I go, oh, lonesome loser or something like that. It's like. On train loser or something to that effect. And
I remember that name. Yeah.
But inadvertent loner. That's what it was.
Yeah, inadvertent. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Then you don't remember that.
Yeah.
Inadvertent loner. So I said, "Hey, loner, how you doing?" But it's like,
that's crazy.
Nobody knew anybody's names except for Shane. Everybody knew who Shane was.
Everybody knew who Shane was. Yeah.
Shane.
He was a man. Yeah, he was Shane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it was great times. I'm glad I'm survived. I'm here.
Yeah, you made it, bro.
I barely made it.
So, Alberto, tell everybody where you're signing in from right now. Where are you in the world?
Oh, right. I moved down to South America, to Ecuador. Well, I'm originally from Ecuador. I was born here, and then I moved in when I was a teenager to NYC, New York. And so I lived pretty much all my life there. Got married and have family and all. And then towards the I think it's about 10 years that I've been living down here. Yeah. So I kind of trying to escape the whole madness of San Diego Comic-Con and all that stuff, because that stuff got really crazy. So I was like, oh man, I'm burned. The publishing industry and all that stuff took a toll on me a little bit. I gotta say.
Yeah, because
now relationship and everything.
Yeah, because one of the things that came out of the drawing board was you started not only publishing your own books, but you started publishing other people's books. Like you
Okay.
published a couple books by Bill Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Campbell, we did like
J. Scott Campbell, right?
about Jessica Campbell. We printed 5 or 6 books, I think. The
Didn't you-
color ones.
Yeah, you did some for Cheeks too, didn't you? Do a Cheeks book?
Critiques? What do you mean?
Oh yeah, Sean Galloway, Cheeks. You remember him?
Sean Galloway.
Chicks, yeah, we did the first 2 books that he published. We were basically what we tried to do those days. We're not even. I couldn't even call it publishing. What it was almost a co-op type of thing, with a communist manifesto. It's like, okay, the industry, they got all the what you call it, the distributors were taking a good chunk of the money and all the stuff, and we were only printing books basically to take to the conventions, right? To do at the con. So I figured, hey, why don't we just get together, 8 of us, including Cheeks and Matt Stewart, a few artists who worked in animation or mostly animated, but there were also some comic book guys there. And I said to him, dude, I have some contacts with printing, with the printers overseas, and I could do the design, I could do, the layout and the whole thing. So I'll do that. You pay for your own books, and that way the cost of the books becomes less taxing on us, because it was to do a hardcover book, as you know, it was really hard. So everybody has this Kinko's books. We used to call them the Ashkins. So nothing wrong with that. They were actually fun and everything. But some of us wanted a little color there, and the digital printing was still in its infancy, so to speak. Right? They were doing it, but it was very expensive to do. And hardcover books were not being done by them. And if the ones that were doing, they were an arm and a leg. I remember Shane published I think it was like 100-page book, or 400. I don't remember, but it was like a real thick volume that he sold well through Lulu Printing or something. A digital outfit, right? But the book itself, I asked Shane, how much is that book? The book itself cost like, I think, $90 just to print or something. So I'm exaggerating, but it was really costly to print it. So you're not making a lot of money. So when we banded together like that and printed overseas, our hardcover books were like, to us, they were about 5 and a quarter.
That's not bad. Yeah.
And a half. So
Hopefully pops back in.
That was the beginning of that. It was more a need to be, like we wanted to do the hardcover books. Stevens had sent me, I was friends with him, and he was the first one ever to publish a hardcover book, really thick. But he did it with his money. He didn't have a publisher. So in order for you to have a nice hardcover book and full color and the whole thing, you actually needed to hook up with a publisher, and that was the problem. Publishers didn't want to publish every single artist out there, right? Especially if you're not known. Right. So that was the thing. As a matter of fact, I remember asking you about it. And in a weird way, you turned out to be the person who actually got me started. That you don't remember this. You may not remember, but at the San Diego, I think in 2003. 2002. I was there, and I came to see you. You're at the booth, and I asked you, hey, man, because I was already working with you or trying to work with you with Draw. We had talked about it. So I said, hey, dude, can you interested in publishing my work? And I didn't understand how it worked. And you told me, I'm not the publisher. I work with Tomorrow's. So this type of thing, my own books, I do it myself. And I go, oh, shit, I didn't know that. So I saw your little books. You used to have these books. And you make them yourself. You publish them yourself. So, oh, man, this self-publishing thing, I had no idea about it because it comes from graphic design, right? Illustration. So when when you told me that, and you said, "Do it yourself, man." It's like, okay. No, seriously, you did. You said that. You don't remember this because I was like, you said, "Look, I do my own books," and I go, "Oh shit, okay, I'll do it. I'll give it a shot." And then I started thinking, yeah, I want to do a book, but I want to make it. And I did a couple of books, one color type of books. I think I have one back there somewhere, but that was gigantic because that's the access I had at the printer where I was working on at the time. So they had this firing machine, and I, instead of sending the letter size, I made a mistake and I sent the 11 by 17 size, right? So when I went to pick up the prints, they're all gigantic, and I go, "Holy cow, what did I do?" And then they looked really great, so I said, "Oh, I'm gonna do it." Yeah, because I already printed like 100 pages. I sent just to print the whole thing, and then when I looked at them, they look great. So the book is gonna be like this, and so, but that was basically my first book, and it was
spiral.
With the spot with the comb on it. Yeah, I have one of
you
those.
must have one of those somewhere, and that was a great book because I think a lot of people didn't have these gigantic things. It's like if you take a print, you buy a print, and then you buy 48 prints, and you put a coil around it. That's basically it, right? Because people sell $25
prints.
prints.
Hang it up, and you can go, "Well, this month I want to see this print. Next month, so
Yeah, it's something like that.
And you know, and Alberto, to what you just said, I remember when I think that was the first year when I met you at that San Diego. Was you? I don't know if it got to you, but you were the talk of that convention. Like, yo, did you find this cat Alberto with these sketchbooks with the comb on it? And I don't know if you went home with any of those, but no one was doing color that early, like that.
Right.
And just like you said, the print quality was so amazing. It was hard to not be astonished by.
The only other guy that was kind of doing a little bit of what you were doing was a guy, Bawana Man, who used to do the T-shirts.
Oh, right. That was a guy
that guy who used to do the T-shirts with like the pinup girls on the T-shirts, like Space Girls. Bawana Man, remember?
Him? Yeah. Oh my God. Oh yeah, that guy was good. You're right.
Right.
You're
so
right. I totally forgot about that. But to that, I'll say this. Okay. The quality was actually because I worked at this place. I was still working in the children's fashion industry at the time. So I mean, 7th Avenue, but the children's division, right? So I had access to these printers, from the people who I worked with. I was a freelancer, and what I did at that time was fixing computers, right? So I had access to the fire. So at the end of the day, I would go and print and send out a few test prints because the idea was to actually just send tests to see what the color was. But they came out really good. They were, the fiery was pretty new at the time, right? That was like digital printing made for pretty much every industry. Decided to popping up everywhere. Because before that, color copies were like even expensive. You have to go to Kinko's, I guess, to have made some color copies out of the old Irish machine, and that was like $30-$40 a pop. So by me using the printer, and if someone from the garment industry is listening right now, they probably know what I'm talking about because everybody did that. Like you work for X company, and then at the end of the day, you print your own stuff over there. You print a couple of things here and there. But I did the test, right? And the color was good. So I said, I'm going to come in every day and print like 100 pages. And so I had, later I had my wife in the case just on the ground, putting it together, collating the thing and taking it to Kinko's so we can get the coil. So we did it ourselves, right? But the color was really good because the machines getting better and better. Digital printing kept getting better. So I had that available to me. I didn't invest any money really, right? Not really, just the coil. So when I took that in book form to San Diego, it was a big thing because nobody can afford something like that. That was as simple as that. I couldn't even afford it if I didn't work for them people and did that for free on my spare time. And they will allow me to, yeah, just print a couple things, don't worry. And every now I'll print 50, 60 sheets. And then eventually I amassed enough to put it together in a book format. But that was unheard of because it was expensive. Not because it wasn't, you could do it. It's just too costly, right? So that book that I used to sell for $25, in reality would have costed anybody maybe just as much, or maybe more, right? To put together. It's 11 by 17. That was gigantic. I think I may even have it back then. It's so big that people were carrying it around, right? I didn't have money for the. I really honestly didn't have money to print the cover. So what I did, there was a deal on one of these internet printing companies. They say, oh, you send 11 by 17 and we print it was a 2-for-1. So if you send 500, they'll give you 1,000. So I took the deal and it was super cheap, like $100, $200 maybe. So both the front cover and the back cover was the same. So when you carry that gigantic thing around, there was no way that you couldn't see the cover because the front cover was the same. So no matter where you would, and you couldn't, it was so big, you couldn't even, everybody was carrying it. That was the success of that because a lot of the animators, especially the comic book people, they actually was like, hey, where did you pick up that gigantic thing?
Yeah.
And exactly what you say. So that was good. And I sold out, I took 200 books. I sold out by Friday. I had no books. And then what I mean by Friday, usually is we starting Wednesday, right? Wednesday. And by Friday, I didn't have any more books. But it was great. It was amazing. And that was the beginning of it, right? So, but I couldn't repeat the same deal. I mean, the same thing next years ahead because I didn't work for the industry anymore. I quit when I was, because the success of that book actually prompted me to, you know what, I got to pursue this fully. I mean, I can't just do it like that. So I want to do this. And so I quit and then the rest is history to say, but the next year I have to actually pay for a book. And that's where it hurt me. Because I didn't have the money to do a full color, so I did a 1-color book, right? In an actual press, and you know who got me that printer? Fred Blevins from Draw Magazine.
Oh, okay.
That's right. I printed
his printer, right? His local printer.
Yeah, his printer. Yeah, they used to print religious things, I think, or something like that. They were at the time.
And then they get Alberto pinups, and they're like,
they get naked girls, they're naked women, all that was crazy. But I did only one book with them, but because soon after that, then I met a fellow from Colombia who printing company, massive printing company, and they wanted to get into the States, to do business with comic book people. And guys, sure, man. Yeah, I think I've done a cover for Howard Shum.
Yeah. Some did he was doing Gun Fu at the time.
Gun Fu, right? I did a alternate cover for him, and so those are my credentials in the comic book industry. I didn't have to this day. I think I've done maybe 2-3 covers or something, but that's about it. But he saw that and he thought, yeah, this guy's in comics. Let's approach him, and that was it because the prices that they were for the hardcover and color books, they was like $5. Where before I couldn't afford anything like that. In the States, it would be like easy $12, $15, and even in China it would cost you because you have to print over 1,000 in order for it to make sense. So it could go down. The more you print, obviously, the less it costs. That's what prompted us again. In turn, that's why I approached Sean Cheeks and Matt Stewart, a few other fellows, Robert Mitchell, if you may remember, and a few others. But we basically, my pitch was, if you want to bring the cost down to this, we could do it, right? Because Matt Stewart had done a beautiful color book, but he told me what the price was. It was very small, and it was digital printing. He said, oh, I paid like $16, $17, maybe more, almost $20 per disc. So I have to sell them for like 30. and that was kind of hard. It was hard to sell very tiny, right? Because it was costly. So I said, I have the solution for that. Let's band together. We make the same format. So instead of sending 1,000 books, we all print 1,000, and we have 8 to 10 books at a shot. So we basically what we're doing is sending 10,000 books at a time, right? And the only thing that they have to do is change the plates for every so often for a different book, but the format was the same. The paper was already bought because you have to, so it was easier for the printer to deal with that volume. And then so after that, we just grew. And then instead of sending 10,000 to print, then the next shot that we did was like 25,000 because there were more people joining us, right? And then at one point it just got ridiculous. We would send Campbell alone, Jessica Campbell alone would send like 3,000 of each title, something like that. So by the end, almost the end, it was doing really well in that sense that the book, the cost of the book was coming down, right? Because you don't need reality. You don't need 1,000 books, right? If you're a struggling artist, you need some books, but you don't need 1,000.
Right.
Yeah, of course. So what I said to them, look, if you're spending $5,000 for these books, okay, that's a lot of money. But think about it this way: all you need to do is send at these prices, 25, 30 bucks. That's you can pay for those. People pay for that. That's not hard. So with that, you may need to sell only about 250 books to get your money back, and that's all. Then after that, everything is all gravy. You can even give them away as portfolios, whatever you want. After that, right? So there's still some people who have a lot of books in their garages, but that's okay. They made their money and they whatever. That was cool.
So you basically became a print broker for other people because of your experience working. Working in the business. Now, of course, like you said, in that 20-year span, the cost of everything has come down. The quality of printing has gone. But you got out of printing other people's stuff, though.
Yeah,
I'm not really doing that now, right?
No, I can't. Actually, when I left the business a while ago. I mean, it's like 2000. And I did another. I had a different business model for Trinket Publishing, which is the one, that came after Brand Studio Press, which was the big one. Right? We printed with Brand Studio Press, printed about 200 volumes when about 200. Now, some of the volumes, I'm not going to say a lot, but some of the books that we did, we didn't even put our logo on it because one, I felt like it didn't align with what we were doing, and some were like children's books. For instance, I did some children's books with some guys who said like friends who said, "Hey, I want to have this done by you because you have the contacts printing." I said, "No problem," because I didn't really care about who sent what, because the idea was to just the more people who get together, the cheaper the books became to us, the less expensive for us, right? So in that sense, it make perfect sense that I can't put my logo on a children's book or maybe some pornography that I'm not, I don't want to get involved, but I will print your book, no worries. So we did a lot of books that you may not even know that we did, right? Because we just printed them. So I don't appear as a publisher, I don't appear as the curator or what you call it, designer or anything, but that's fine. But it would, it was necessary to join and to defeat the evil forces of, the printing. One of the things that it was important. Sorry for interrupting you, but this was very important. We didn't deal with the rights of the copyrights of the artists, right? So that was great. A lot of artists joined us because we didn't care for that. So as soon when you print with a publisher, that's what a lot of people don't know. As soon as you sign with a publisher, they take care of everything, but they also get a chunk of the copyright, and rightfully so. Yeah, they put in the money, they have that. But some deals are really hard and they're one-sided. So let's say you make a movie based on the characters that you had on those books. Now they own a piece of that movie or whatever future projects. Things like that happen. Deals like that happen. Not often. I don't know, but there's been things like that. Because once you own, and then also the fact that when you print with them, then the next book, if you don't want to do the next book with them, it's like, wait, the deal was for, you can't do another book if you have to go through us, or you have to wait 3 years until you make your next book. So things like that work out. So publishing is rough like that. So we didn't do any of those shenanigans. We didn't do anything. We don't care. I mean, you want to print another one, or you don't want to print with us anymore, that's fine. We're cool. Yeah. So that was an attractive plus for anyone who wanted, an artist to join us. And so a lot of them did. And so it became, see, this is the thing. It became a job for me when at the beginning I said, I actually, when I opened Brand Studio, I said, this is great and it's going to be so much fun to do because it's I love it and it's fun. But once it becomes a job, it's gonna it may not be that good. And it eventually became a job because it was too big. So that's when shit started happening. Like, oh man, I don't know.
And where did you store the books? And were you shipping right from the printer to the individual artist?
That was insane. We had, and I was just talking to a friend just 2 days ago about that, because he said, yeah, like if you wanted your book printed through Brand Studio, right? You send me 48 JPEGs, high quality, right? Today, and 3 weeks, 4 weeks from that time, there's someone knocking on your door with, it's an 18-wheeler park outside with you saying, hey, we have a pallet of books right here. And that was it's not an exaggeration. Whoever's listening to that printed with me, they know. 3 weeks, sometimes with Ragnar, we printed a book with him. He was down to the wire. I think it was only 2 weeks and we printed it right there. And we have a ship to San Diego. Airlifted, if you want to use that term. They got it right at the convention time. Yeah, and we could do things like that because the Colombian printer that we had, they had that power, that muscle with the airlines. So it cost a little bit more, but man, if you could if you're 2 weeks from San Diego and you don't have a book, if you're an artist, you can. So a lot of people did that, and we were able to do stuff like that. That was great, and that's what a lot of people. That's why people join us, because we can do all that stuff. And no one, when you print something through a publisher, it probably takes you 6 months just to talk to the publisher, and they was like, "What do you want to do? This is what we're gonna take. We have direction." Then they hire a designer, and you have to work with him, and then then you have to kind of go back and forth with the prints. They send you big prints from China, and you got to see where the errors go. It's like, "Oh, I don't like this. This color is off," and that would take forever. We circumvented all that. So I told the guys, and I told my friends, look, this is not going to be perfect color, right? But I'm going to do my best to approximate, right? Because I did most of the design, not all. But when I talked to the printers, they said, dude, you go with this thing. I don't need to see proofs. I already kind of proved this myself. So you go. And they said, like, no, we can't do that because it's not allowed. That's not the way it works. We have to send you prints and for FedEx, and then you get them back. You sign on them, and then you send it back to us. But I said that's going to take at least 4 weeks, 3 to when you're in Colombia and we're down, we're in the States, and I said no, let's not do that. So I talked to the president of the company, and I said I want to circumvent the whole thing. I just want when I said this is approved, it's approved, and just go with it. And so the guy said, sure, we'll do that. No problem. And that's it. As long as you hold us, you're not responsible for this thing. We don't want to be sued. You have to sign. So I signed. I said, no worries. I'll sign up.
You just signed ahead of time.
And I signed it, and I said, I'll deal with the artist individually, right? So there might be a book that's kind of not exactly the right color. And we had a couple of things happen, but not a major problem. To the degree that this is unusable, right? There may be a little thing here and there, but we did pretty good for having over 200 titles. I think just very few things that went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Very few, if any. Whatever it was, if it was something was wrong, that to the degree that we had to scratch the whole thing, like send the whole batch back, none of that ever happened. Not to my knowledge. No, none of that happened. So the experience was great. But in reality, I don't recommend that to anybody to do that in the real world, because that's not safe. But we took the chance because we were just outcasts, so to speak. We just wanted, we were. We didn't. We see the publishing industry didn't want us. I mean, it's not like I'm saying like we're pariahs or anything. They just didn't. They wanted people who can move books, not just this guys working in animation. Oh, that's another animator, another comic book artist. They're not. We're not going to sell books for them. That's basically it. And it has to be about numbers, right? So the Kickstarter taken away. Kickstarter is it's almost like ironic that when Kickstarter started happening for everybody, all the major artists doing it, then I didn't see anymore the need for brand studio. It made no sense, because now the artists can collect the money themselves. They can collect even more so than they need, because people will give them more money. They have the money to print, they get it done, and still they get some money left to perhaps think of other things or fix their homes or whatever it is that they do, right?
Now you still can design a book for somebody who's doing a Kickstarter.
I don't design. I didn't even design my own book. That's how out of the industry I am. As soon as I gave up that, I don't want to touch a book ever again. I want a book, and it was not that that I have bad feelings. It was actually great. I was just tired. I mean, like I was pooped. I have fatigue of the whole thing, the industry, because a lot of people don't know. My wife at the time knew, because we were like, actually, the 18-wheeler came to a home because we also were printing, selling the books from Brad Studio Press, right? So we had an online store. So we actually unloaded the truck ourselves. We did pretty much everything ourselves, everything. So at one point, it was like, I don't know if we would be doing this anymore. That's just a physical aspect. Then to keep track of inventory, all that stuff. It was really consuming. I didn't draw anything. I did not draw anything in those years, or brand studio years. That is, when you pick up the book, you'll see, right? That book is, the new book is sort of chronological. So you have, from my beginnings with you guys, San Diego, right, 2003, 4, and then it goes to 2007. I printed like a shitload of books, sketchbooks, right? And then at 2007, it stops cold. And then the next time you pick up is 2016, right? It's not that I didn't draw anything. I drew here and there, things and that, right? A few things, but not in. I didn't make a book. I didn't. 2016. Right. I mean, So it was all this time. Then my life changed, and then it was super hard to continue that pace of brand studio. That was like neck breaking pace. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, because everybody, but the people want more. They want more books. And then I remember where this company, animation company, we wanted to do the art of this movie. And I was like, man, and that book was so thick. That was the Secret of Kells, I think, of the movie. And we did that book too with How Publishing. They did pretty much the whole layout. But once it becomes like that, then I had no life at the time. It was really, and that's in my head. It was very complicated because it was time-consuming. Relationship, took a toll. Everything was. But I have to say the money was good. I met a lot of amazing people, great people, whom my friends until this day. You guys are. We met. We're still friends with many people, really good people that Actually, I've been to my home, and we share parts and cold showers with.
Alberto, I wanted to add something to this timeline because you're know it or not are an integral part of the move into, I don't know, kind of like a next level of thinking about cartoonists and illustrators, adding the art book, right? The art book wasn't such a mainstream thing before you really started doing your, your part of it. You think about animators getting deep into comic book conventions, and I remember the monkey suit guys were showing up, and everybody, all of a sudden, everybody was from different parts of different industries were showing up in comics and trying to figure out having something to hand people. And like you said, the ash can, the Kinko special, everybody had like, sketches or some sort of like a calling card. But then when, you came into the game doing hardcover books, and I was thinking about like Bud Plant and all those people who know about those type of catalogs where you get high-end art products or art house books, hadn't really reached comics yet. And and after you, I think all of a sudden everybody realized I need a really nice book. You know what I mean, to sell, and that wasn't part of the conversation before.
We made it affordable, so to speak, right? And not just that, we made it easy. I mean, it's not that's basically it. We made it easy in the sense like the whole thing that I just explained about how fast it took from here's 48 pages and next thing you know, in within a month you'll have the books, right? And so most often before a full month has passed, that was unheard of. You couldn't do it. I don't think it's possible today to do it.
I don't think you could do that now.
Offset printing, no. I mean, you can do digital printing, but even that you have to take, you take some time. It takes some time. It's not that simple.
Now a lot of times people go over to China, and then you have to count into time of shipping, and then you got to get insurance if it's shipped in case your stuff gets lost. I mean, there's all that other stuff. I took a couple seminars on that because that's the thing that a lot of people don't. They think, oh, I'm going to Kinko's and get it. So you're not worried about it. If you go to Kinko's and like, oh, you printed it backwards. They go, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'll fix it tomorrow, right? But you can get something sent from China and it gets to the port of San Francisco and a crate falls on it, right? Then you got to go like, oh, I know some people that were doing that. They learned the hard. They didn't take out the insurance. Something happens to the ship. Sorry, buddy. You just spent $15,000 to print a book and you got nothing.
Yeah,
that's real.
We made it. I think looking back, right? I didn't even think whole thing, including that the but once if you have somebody tell you, right, dude, you can get a book for $5.50 or $5.25 or $5.95. I don't remember exactly, but less than $6 per book. A book that you can that's attractive enough to be sold at $25-$30. And if you put a drawing there, right, if you're an artist in a comic book, and then your fans will, get a book that you can sell it for $50-$60, depending, right? So right then and there, that's attractive enough, right? But if you say to them, there's all these things that happen, including the insurance thing, like something can happen. That's all covered, right? In the price is in the $5.95, whatever that was. That's right there, includes insurance, includes delivery. You know what I'm saying? It's like any still will get it to you with 3-4 weeks, right? So that changes the game. So we did change the game in that sense. Like I'm not gonna claim responsibility for like the era of the hardcover books. I think people did books. Some did, but we made it accessible. We made it easy for a bunch of people. And so when our friends, Sean Galloway and all those kids, I say kids because we were younger then, right? And it was okay. I was like the oldest guy, and so I was like, oh, this kid, but respectfully. But I thought, if these people, right, all these artists that worked with me at the time, there were 8, about 9, they actually go to the convention and everybody starts like, oh man, hardcover books, oh great. And to Jake's credit, I mean, he was a beast because his books, he sold his little books that he made. He sold tons of them because he had a big fan base. So when he came out with hardcover books, man, the fans went nuts. They were rabid. He had 2, not 1. I myself could only afford 1. The process junket thing was a collection of actual your tutorials that I did for you. That was included in the first batch, right? So I only have $5,000. So now I'm going to do 1 book. And Chicks did 2 books, right? And imagine that guy sold out almost, I think, in the first month or so. A couple of conventions, he had no books, right? Now he went on to bigger and better things. I'm not claiming responsibility for that. He's a talented man, and he did so. But definitely, for not for him, but some other artists, the books did open doors for them because it's a good presentation card, right?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, where's your portfolio? Here's my hardcover book, all full color and everything. It's like, I was like, oh shit, you take it seriously. And then you have a logo of a company. It's like, we were, let's be real, Brand Studio was not a real publishing company. It was not I can say that it's all 20 years after, so I can easily say that. It was not, but at the time, we actually, I told the guys, I'm gonna put the logo there, and we're gonna if anybody says this company, because people don't take it seriously if some publishing guy is taking care of you, right? So you don't say anything. You just this is the publisher. You contact the publisher, that sort of stuff. So we played the game, and that was great. I had people from DreamWorks contacting me directly, right? It's saying, hey, where's the artist that did this book, right? I'm not going to name any names because there were a few of them, so somebody get jealous or something. So somebody said they contacted me, a few Disney and DreamWorks at different times. And other people who wanted to work with this artist, they say, you publish this artist and we want to get, know his name and this and that. And like, sure. And I sent them the artist the mail I got. I said, oh, you deal with them. But those are that was the byproduct, of the books. That was great. That was great. Open doors for people, for artists. And they, I was just like, I wanted to have a book. That's basically it. The whole thing comes from me wanting to have. It was a selfish thing in a way, but once in order for me to have a nice book like that, joining with these other kids, friends of mine, it was easy, right? And it was almost like the next step to do. I say, your girlfriend, you've been forever. Now it's time to get married. That was the same thing. We have this opportunity to do it. Most artists are not good at designing books. Most artists are not publishers. They don't know about. But I worked in publishing and printing pretty much all my life, so I knew that world.
So why don't you tell people a little bit about that, like how you got into publishing, how you got into illustration, what you liked about illustration. What were you doing in the fashion industry? How did that come about?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was the short story, because it's a long thing. But I was doing working menial jobs, construction things, that cab driving, the whole thing when I was younger, in my 20s, and even into my 30s. So the art I was doing was typical, right? T-shirts here and there, silk screen printing. I mean, things that I could do because I didn't have the formal training. I didn't go to university for art. So I was that was my range. That what I could do is do these menial things. So at one point, I met someone from a communist paper, believe it or not. right? I was driving my cab, and I had my portfolio with me because I still did designs on the side for a T-shirt guy. So the name of the paper was the New Alliance or something like that. The only communist paper in New York, I think. Right? I'm not a communist. I don't have a political bent. I'm not bent, but I thought that it would be great because the guy saw my stuff and said, "Oh, yeah, you're an artist. How would you like to do a couple of caricatures?" Because that's what I was doing back then, right? So he saw the work and he said, "The only thing is that there's no pay because this is the Communist Party, man." It's like, I said, "Oh, you got it. This is all volunteer work." And I said, "Dude, just want to get published, right? I want to get my doodles published." And then he said, "Yeah, well, so you get the front cover, the back cover, whatever you want because we don't have anybody." The paper was kind of crappy, right? So I did a few, I think about 3 illustrations before I bolted right out because there was no money, right? Because at one point I needed to eat. So, but it was my first taste into that, because I learned a little bit about the process, and then I got it. That led to another job somewhere doing similar things for printing and illustration for printing, and then next thing I know, I'm working for garment industry because of a friend that I used to work with in embroidery industry, silk screening, actually had his art director needed someone who, I don't know what happened, but the art director was horrible, so nobody wanted to work with her. So he said, "I mean, if you want to give it a try, give it a try." So I went there, and the money was so good for me because of the previous jobs that I had, that I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So that was my first art job, like really salary, and I was making something like close to $22,000 right then and there. At that job, having made like maybe top 11 something in my previous job. So I was like, "Oh yeah." So in order for me to make ends meet back before that, I need to have like 3 jobs. So when I to get to 22 or something, right? So when my first art job in the industry, fashion industry, was 22 grand with the promise of, in a review 3 months down the road you'll get another 3 or 4 grand. So I was like, this is heaven compared to before, right? So that's it. So once I was there, now check it out. Once I was there, then I got to know how the style guides were made because we used them to print, and that's where I see your work, Mike Manley's. That's how I got to see your work, Shane's work, because you guys, not you necessarily, I don't think, but Paul Rewatch, they did you guys did the storyboards, and from the storyboards of Batman Beyond, we used to get that license from
right
industry. That's where I saw the stuff that, hey, why don't I go direct to the source? Right? So somebody had the name and number for the DC Comics licensing department art directors. So I went to her. I said, "This is what I do. I'm working on these characters. I just don't, but that's because I was working on the characters, meaning putting a little title on top, that sort of stuff, right? And then making T-shirts from them." So when I went there, the woman said, "Sure, yeah, I like your designs. Let's start." So that's when I went into more of a DC Comics, working directly for this DC Comics. And then the rest is history, because that's from there. I just went up to San Diego. I saw Shane Glein's work, your work. Actually, I have, believe it or not, you don't know this. I have stuff that yours and Paul Rewatch's designs for Batman Beyond, and I saw your name there. I know you work for your
I did backgrounds.
Yeah. So I still have those Xeroxes that they used to do. Yeah, I still have them because they were the storyboards. Because Batman Beyond was a property that just came out, and then there was no time to make a style guide at the time, right? They didn't have enough material. So the designers, when I went into this comics, said, "Okay, we have this new show Batman Beyond. He was new at the time, and he said we have to do this design, but we don't have material. This is the only thing we have is the animation sheets, right? And so this is what you do. So he gave me the stuff, and I actually came up with icons and stuff, and doing graphic design with your stuff. We believe it or not, even back then we were connected somehow, and that's when, and I saw the preliminary drawings of Shane, of Murakami, Glenn Murakami, that he was working on the show.
Yeah.
Well, Shane did the Joker Girls. That was my first exposure to that, and then so I went to his site and then signed up for the drawing board, right, in 2001 sometime. And so that's where the whole thing comes. So when I saw Shane, I told my art director, I showed Shane's work. It came to me via fax, I think it was at the time. So I remember the fax, right? So, Alberto, this is good job, right? You have to come up with designs for this show. And it was Shane's lines, because he did the girls. He designed the girls, the women characters. And I guess Murakami did some of the villains. I don't know who did that. But it was mixed. But I think Bruce Timm also had something to do with it, but very, very little. But because Batman animated was such a success that it just permeated pretty much every aspect of DC Comics, kiddie shows. So, but by that time, when I saw, I never seen the actual drawings from Shane. So when I got them, I was like, this is great. And then I went to his website and I saw his cartoon retro stuff that he was just starting. And I said, damn, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life, right then and there. And I went to the DC Comics office to my art director, Jane, and she remembers probably to this day. And I said, I don't want to do this logo crap anymore. I don't want to do graphic design. I want to be a character designer for Warner Brothers. And she looked at me for like, ha ha ha. I don't never forget. But in a good way. In a good way. She wasn't mean or anything. It's just like,
did she stroke her beard?
No. To her, credit, she actually very supportive, but she said, that's not happening, Alberto, because that means that you have to go out of Burbank, and that we can't afford to lose you for this. Because what I realized at DC Comics, at least the licensing department, was like you couldn't move up or down or anything. You had to stay there. Some people stay there for 18, 20 years. As a matter of fact, my art director stayed for more than 18 years. When the whole thing went down, the DC Comics licensing, that building, that was it. Everybody was gone. Then they took only her to California. They got rid of everybody. Only she survived. And a good friend that used to work there also bailed out, and actually he's in Cancun somewhere having a good time because he actually stayed there, but he was smart. It's like he stayed there and he ripped the benefits, and he's like, oh, I'm out, and he left. And it was great. But that was that in a nutshell. I jumped from truck delivery to design, graphic design. Yeah.
Well, when you were younger, you were a teenager. Were you drawing? What were you interested in drawing? Were you always interested in drawing girls or pinups or? No,
not whatsoever. I think jokingly I said things like that, like I was drawing naked girls when I was 5 or something. But that's only a joke. I think my interest in drawing was a late bloomer, always being a late bloomer, right? Because I don't remember drawing. I remember, just cutting stuff, in the books and pasting things and putting stuff together. I remember until 13 years old. And I know exactly that because at 13, something happened that made me think and remember that. And that was that one person in my family has given me an encyclopedia of art. And I fell in love with that. It was like you have 10 tomes of the history of art. And I was like, naked girls. Seriously, because you're looking at Hellenic period and all stuff like that. Everybody's naked. All the Greeks, that's everybody's. And then the sculpture, the Greek sculptures, and then as you go, it's nothing but naked girls, right? So all the way up to the Renaissance and beyond, like Venus, Botticelli, and all the stuff. Like, this is great. This is. I'm a teenager. It's like that. I think that what got me, sort of. Yeah, I like drawing. I realized that I like drawing a lot, although I didn't pursue it, like with vigor. But I that was the spark. Yeah, and then by 16, by 15, I was already drawing a lot more, and then I told my mom I wanted to go to art school. So, and the art school thing was actually a high school for the arts where I lived down here in Ecuador. So I did that experience, but at least I kind of knew what I wanted to do, which is anything, caricature, illustration, but I didn't draw women. I never drew. I had the passion for it, and I think seeing the works of the masters kind of inspired me. But it wasn't like it was not that I wanted to draw women, because I found the anatomy was such a difficult thing. I found it daunting and almost impossible to master, right? Me at that time. So, and also I was lazy, to be quite honest, right? If you think about that, when you're young, some people have that industrious, thing. They work. Me, I wanted to avoid work. To be honest. Yeah. So I did everything in my power to avoid hard work. So to me, anatomy was like, such a. Oh yeah, it was like you had to learn all those muscles and all those Greek names and all the Latin words. To me, I found it very difficult. But it was later. It was in my 40s that I actually took on the, because of the chain lines, basically, in our work. Because I was working for this comics when that happened, and then I decided this is what I want to do. After I saw Shane Glines' drawings, so that was 2001 or 2, right? So I was already 40. I was 41.
Yeah, you wanted to change your path.
Yeah, no, because but that's the thing. I believe that because it was harder for me to learn the physical, the figure drawing, because I was a designer. I was a graphic designer. So those are two, like you said, two different hats that you have to wear. You got to forget about design, so to speak, right? It's not the same thing. So even back then, when you talk about Illustrator, I was doing Illustrator, I didn't know the human figure. What I was doing is mimicking stuff, right? And using Illustrator to cut and paste and Frankenstein shit together. That's how I came out. But know about anatomy or even figure drawing stuff until at least 5 or 6 years after that, where I started, really being serious about it. So all my work from 2002 to 2006, I believe, pretty much all of it. It was just drawing the form, just drawing. Which you can do that too, right? It's not like you need to know full anatomy. If you can get the form, right? You can understand shapes, how the body's constructed that way. You can get away with not knowing anatomy, because you understand her. So in other words, I can actually at the time, because I drew a lot, I can actually see there's something wrong. There's somebody show me a drawing. It's like, hey, what's wrong with this drawing? I can actually I know what's wrong with that shape, that part of the body, but I couldn't tell you what muscle it was, or to what bone it was attached, or where
right.
You know what I mean? I just knew that I drawn that so many times that I know how that shape goes, and when it twists, I know how to represent that on paper, right? But it could be right. That's all form, that's all shapes, that's all rhythm, line, and all that stuff. But it was no anatomy. Anatomy came into my life later on, after even At the time, I was doing Brand Studio, but then I was so busy with Brand Studio, I didn't pursue it fully. But at that time, I was ready to understand anatomy. So I bought me a bunch of anatomy books, more than the ones I had, and I started going at it. So by the time I was lost, right, the lost years, that's actually me just hitting the books and learning anatomy. So by the time I emerged from that, sort of cave that I put myself into, then then I was kind of like, okay, I feel I'm ready to explore this further and actually making some drawings and see what happens, right? And taking it to mixing it a little bit with design, with graphic design, and other. That's why I was all over the place, and a lot of people would not take me seriously because of that fact that my drawings they will be cartoony, they were kind of Shane Glines type of thing, and then it will be something very like realistic, sort of academically, in that academic part. So then I'm all over the place. But as soon as I got an idea of anatomy, I started loving it, and then I became obsessed with anatomy to the degree that the way I actually learned anatomy is by watching doctors. Even there's a YouTube guys that show teach anatomy for medical students. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
that thing fascinated me, and I went into it. So I can tell you about the clavicle, and I can tell you about how the clavicle is going to break if you hit your shoulder. There's the lowest part right there, and this and that, and these are the tendons of the clavicle right here, the strongest ones they have. So you wouldn't break the clavicle at the joints, but you will break it right in the center. You would splinter. That bit of a thing, I know because I was watching the medical anatomy guys, things like that. It was fascinating. I mean, like how the nerves go in there, but that I don't need for for drawing, because now I learned the form, right? I've known the form for quite a while, and now with a little bit of anatomy, you can actually, it's a sort of like now you have a language which you can speak, if you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Because knowing anatomy doesn't. It's actually bad for you if you don't know how the body works. It's really bad because if once you know it, you want to shoehorn it everywhere, because you know it already, and it's like now you got to put all those bones in there, and sometimes you don't need to put bones or muscles in there. You don't need it. You have to let go. So the difference, I think, in the work is that I could do just simple stuff, and when the mood arises, they're like, oh yeah, I want to go deeply into that muscle there that I see that's kind of very attractive to put in there, or a little bit of fat or what have you. But the knowledge is actually how do you call it? It's a support thing, right? It supports the form, basically, right? Anatomy. It's not the be all So when people, I teach anatomy, so I said the first thing I said, you may not need anatomy right now. First, you gotta know the form. You gotta learn the shapes, right? So some students get discouraged because we don't go into the bones, into the muscle immediately. At least not me. If you don't, because that's the thing. I know, for instance, my friend Paul Richards, right? He draws women like nobody else, right? And that guy doesn't know anything about anatomy. And this is not a put down. He actually told me. He actually one time he said, "Okay, wait, what that? Alberto, you know anatomy? What's that muscle there?" And that again, he knows the basics. You know what biceps is, all that stuff. I'm talking about the inner workings of the body. He may not know necessarily all the muscles and where is the origin for the trapezius or whatever.
The insertion and all.
Insertion and he doesn't know that.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter because he knows the form so well.
Right.
He's a master of the form. So it doesn't matter really. He knows what that muscle looks like, in many ways, when he turns, it's different. He knows that it changes. That is just a matter of drawing all day long.
Yeah.
This
And also
animation-
studying, if you study the body, one of the things that happens if you just learn anatomy from the books, you see the muscle always in like supinated, pronated. You just see it from those angles, right? And
Yeah.
you don't see what the muscle looks like when it's actually in action. You see somebody running or jumping or shooting a basket or throwing a javelin. The shape of the muscle is different than you see in the book.
Right.
And you don't always see every, it's not, you're not serrated. You're not like skinless, right? The
Right.
guys who draw comic books tend to draw everybody skinless.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like even when they draw Batman and he's wearing his suit, you can see like the vein
Top
in
of
his
that,
arm.
you see the whole thing.
You know what I mean? It's like you don't see.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could see your vein through your. You can see my vein through my shirt. I better go to the doctor. There's something wrong,
Hey,
Well,
I
you
have,
have, to be fair, you haven't gone down the YouTube channel. There's a YouTube guy who actually has his veins on his calf muscles. They're so big that once he puts the sack on, you can still see them. But that's just one person.
See,
Yeah,
that's into the internet. Don't go
Yeah,
any further. You're seeing calf veins.
Yeah.
Al-
That's calf veins. Right. But you're right. That's the thing. Not every muscle. The problem with I had and I continue to have with comic book thing is that every muscle is popped. Everybody's all muscles are flexed at the same time, and that doesn't happen in real life. You have an antagonist, a protagonist, right? So the triceps cannot be popped while the biceps, it has to be relaxed. And the same thing with the legs. But in the world that we live in, every muscle is a full stretch and flex like the normal. So it doesn't work like that in real. So if you get that. So in other words, this is what I told one of the students. I said, dude, we're not gonna be doing like action poses right away, right? First, we just go easy contrapposto, standing poses, resting, reclining, and then they want to get to the action. They want to get those muscles popping, in your face. The image of the image comics of the every panel just jumping at you, and I have to put a damp on those dreams. That every muscle doesn't have to be popped. We have to be, flexed at all times. So we start like that, and then, because mostly I draw women, right? So most of the guys, they think that we're not going to be drawing men. They go, so I had to explain certain muscles. We might draw men. I let that, sink in for a little bit. Because they all think that you just be drawing naked girls all the time, and there are some that we need to know about certain muscles that pop, and they might be either women who are athletes, right, or some men that where those muscles are prominent, like So we have to go into that. But everybody wants to do the muscle everywhere, and you want to see more rip and see everything, all the veins popping. Not everyone in my class are, because they kind of know what I do, but the younger ones, the young students, they always want to get to the action pose. We're gonna get that, man. And I don't do that. If you ever look at my work, if you've seen it before, I think I've done the same 3/4 pose from the back, maybe 2,000 times, but every time it's kind of different, right? Because it's a different the nuance, this and that, and every muscle doesn't, it's not going to be active or popping every single time. There's going to be with the lights hits differently, and it's going to be a different pose. When it comes to women, more than anything, right? Men is like we all pop all the time, and it's like easier, I think, to deal with. But women, it's a totally different story. It's harder, I think. That's why I think it's harder to draw women doing it convincingly, because the flesh itself is more malleable, right? So if a woman sits down on a concrete, it's one thing. If she sits on a pillow, it's totally different pose, right? Totally different pose because of the dynamics that go. So what I tell them is this: we are basically what we do when we draw women, right? Or anatomy in general, but women more, is that we're gonna be learning about physics, the effects of physics on the human body, on the flesh, more than anything else, right? Because it really is, that's what it is. That's what it is. You get, like you said, how the serratus muscle, that's the punches muscle, right? So if you're not punching, or if you're not having that active, not moving your arm, that muscle is going to be relaxed. You can't make it pop for no reason whatsoever. If that's you know what I'm saying, right? So
Yeah.
things like that, you don't draw serratus in someone who's super relaxed. You
Right.
just don't do it. Not in the way like you draw the Hulk with all but everybody wants the little dents, of the serratus, the little jagged things, because that looks cool, right? Or the big Hulk trapezius right here, like I want that.
He can't even look because when he turns his eyes blocked by his trapezius.
Hey, Alberto, I have a question from the room.
Yeah.
Our new friend Cynthia says, Alberto, were negative comments hard for you at the beginning of your career? I reached a point where people assume because of my looks, my art isn't serious. I have to prove myself, and I have to prove myself. Does it get easier? Do you have any response to that?
I think, I mean, that's a very valid question, because that's something actually Cynthia touched upon, something that that plagued me my entire life. And it may be different for her than me, but my situation was that I have always looked very young for my age, right? And now that I'm older, it's actually a welcome thing, because now all my friends, my contemporaries, they look like grandpas, and I'm still look somewhat younger, right? But all my life I've been battling that issue, and I didn't want to look younger. I didn't, because it meant for other people that this guy that doesn't have an experience, that sort of stuff. They want to look at me when I was, in my 20s, I looked like I was 15, for instance, right? In my 30s, I looked like I was 19 or 20, that sort of stuff. But that was not good. A lot of people say, "Oh, this is great. You look young, man. You're Carter. Yeah, that's kind of fun." No, for me, it was not fun, because they didn't take me seriously. So I have to kind of do double the work and prove myself, really, right? And just the look, because people think you're younger, you have no experience. So if the question has to do with at the beginning of my career, I think the whole thing has plagued me I went to deal with I deal with a big company I'm not gonna name, but I was already brand studio, and I had all these things, these accolades about the books, publishing, all that stuff, and whatever I'd done before. And I went into that meeting, and I remember executives and all the people like that, and I want to present this project, and they just looked at me like, "Where is the head of brand studio?" And I go, "Wait, is that coming?" And they're asking me, like,
"Where is he?"
Yeah, wait, like, I'm the head of brand studio press. I'm the publisher. I'm the president. I came up with this thing. I mean, like, and it's kind of messed up. I had to justify it, right? But it's like, and then he, changed his mind. Like, "Oh, okay." I thought, sorry, I figured it was an older, more, he didn't say, he stopped himself from saying a more experienced person or something like, but he did say, "I know they're more, let's get onto this." Like, so you have to, and then I have to actually prove that I can do that, because the question arises, that, hey, I don't know if you're the right person for this job. So like that sort of stuff happens. So right now, I don't think that's happening to me anymore, right? But because of the long, career, if you will, of the fact that I'm no longer in the rat race, so to speak, and I'm doing my own thing. Because when you become, that actually forced me to be independent, right? Because I didn't want to deal with that stuff at the beginning. And yes, there's many places in which I went, and if they didn't care whether I look young or whatever, they wanted to see what I did, right? That goes without saying. Not every place was negative in that sense, but yeah, you do have the comments, and but my biggest problems, aside from the age, I've been always being about women, about why you draw women and the women that you draw, you're objectifying women and all that sort of stuff. I personally don't think so that I do that. I don't think I do that. I don't draw porn for. I mean, a lot of people think I do draw porn, and that's fine that they think that. But I personally don't. And I don't have anything against porn. I just don't. It's not my thing. I'm not interested. But I can see that those comments. I don't take them as negative anymore. But I could easily think that these people think what. No, because that's the perception of people. So you have to do your own thing regardless, right? You got to continue doing your thing, and if you can if you can become independent, it's hard to do that, obviously. But if you do go to your job, you do your thing, and when you come back home, you take a couple hours and keep banging on your own drum. I think it's the best way because eventually, that's what you want to do. What you want, and it's so difficult, man. Everybody wants me to do, I don't know, characters and things like that. I had survived. I don't even know how, right? Seriously, because I don't do characters. I don't do fan art. I don't do any of that stuff except for fun.
Like Batgirl, you could draw Batgirl all week, man. Harley Quinn or
right. And I don't. That's not a put down with people who actually do that for a living. They love cartoons. They love these characters. Yeah. It's great. Because I will be offending a lot of people if I say no, I don't. That's the meaning of it. No, that's. But this is not me. That's not what I like to do, right? So if I want to just go with the flow and not hear criticism, that I'll be in for a long wait because that's not going to happen. People are going to criticize you. You just got to keep going, and however cliche that seems, like you have to keep going regardless. You have really right. So the cause of your looks, that's women have it really more difficult than everyone, right? People immediately assume stuff or when they see a woman artist. So that I can't speak to that, but I definitely heard from friends that is a big problem. It's a big problem for them. They won't be taken seriously because of it's simply a woman. That's kind of messed up, but that's not. I can't speak to that experience, but I'll just in general don't pay any mind to that crap and keep going because that's always going to happen. I'm sure right now it's happening to me, and I just ignore it because it's that people are talking about. Oh yeah, that guy, whatever he does that. He only draws naked girls. He draws naked girls and nobody knows.
But the thing that's interesting about that. And you always
thank you.
The guy who draws pinups, you're always going to get some of the crowd that go, you're a misogynist. Why are you drawing stuff like that? Why are you doing that? But I remember sitting next to you at several conventions, and at least half, if not more, of the people that came up to your table and bought bought your books, your posters, or whatever, were women. Women were coming up and buying the material. They were buying it because they didn't look at it as you like. The women are not in negative roles, and they're not holding Conan's leg.
Exactly. I think that's part of the I never had actually how can I say this? I've never been so proud of the fact that I have a lot of a good chunk of my fan base, if you want to call it that, people who follow me, they're women. That's just a fact. Women love drawing women. A lot of the women artists that I know, they actually draw women, right? I have students for female students and everything, and I have people who support me that are women, a lot of women. More, I'm not going to say more than men, but definitely. Now, they view things differently. Obviously, when they approach this thing, it's not a sexual thing for them, for women. But for most men, even when they, when they do not be, I'm not talking about the academic type, right? Because they do both women, they draw women, men, they do anything, the academic world is totally different. But in comics, in anime, the personal work that most of these guys, they draw women. They draw a lot of women, and that's not. I don't see a problem with that. And in my case, I think if it's an appeal for women to like my stuff, it's because I'm not. You never see that Conan thing like holding the leg. You never see that. You never see any guys there. By the way, or women being subservient to men, or looking like, oh, I got,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like, yeah. I don't do this stuff. I'm not condemning anybody who does that. I'm saying, me personally, that may be the appeal of other artists, women that follow my work. That I'm not interested in the sexual aspect of, or any single aspect. I mean, if you want to know the truth of this thing is, personally, I'm invested in learning how to draw. Learning how to draw. That's basically it. It's hard for some people to understand, because like people immediately want to assign feeling to something, or intention, right? Immediately say, oh, look at that, so juicy ass. Look at those tits. Me, I'm thinking volume. How do I represent that? How is gravity going to affect that chunk of flesh that's coming down from the pectoral muscles, and how it goes inside into the folding up? I'm thinking. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not a sexual being. I am, and I think of sex all the time. Probably more horny than any other man out there, right? But that's not the point when it comes to what I'm doing with the figure drawing. I'm invested in learning how the body works. That's all. And the body of the woman is the most attractive to me personally. Maybe because I'm a man. I don't know that. But the fact that a lot of women draw women, it makes that theory, that point much, because everybody, women are difficult to draw. It's as simple as that. They're hard to convey properly. That the weight, the whole thing is difficult. It's just difficult. So I want hard. I don't want to do easy stuff. And I don't mean I hope I'm not coming across like, oh, this guy's, if I draw superheroes, males. No, you do your thing. But personally, me, I found that the muscles, especially the muscles, right? The muscles when you draw men, they are almost visible. They're there. When you draw women, the fatty tissue and the fact that the tissue itself is malleable and soft, it may hide the actual muscle, right? It may hide it. So if you take, for instance, this is what I tell my students: if you skin everybody, with both women and men look exactly the same. You can just do the body show. Yeah, there's a show where they show where they have the body all peeled and everything. The dead people, and then you see the veins and all of the muscles. Right? You'd be hard pressed to tell between male and female, because the body is the muscles are there. But in the male, only in the male, you can see the same thing with the flesh on top, basically, right? To a degree, because the muscles are well defined in most men. In women, it's very difficult to spot, a trapezius in the back, well defined, because you
only like swimmers and like gymnasts and things like that you can see.
Yeah. If you look at an athlete, yeah, absolutely, you'll see that. But I'll challenge anyone to find me some muscles like in the back of the leg that resemble what is actually, once you rip the flesh, they look totally different. The calf muscles, for instance, they look so round in women, right? So like roundish and fully formed and kind of soft. They're soft, and then you see the curves. In reality, those muscles are actually long. They look like bowling pins in a way, but stuff and thing. It's not. They're not that. But the soft flesh covers them up real well. It's hard to tell. In a male, you can actually see the division you could possibly even see the insertion points, but in women it's hard to do that. In
Well,
most
women do biologically have an extra layer of fat.
absolutely, that's for the baby, Mike.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And you're right too. Most of when I teaching especially the high school class, mostly women, mostly young girls in that class, and they love to draw women, right? But the way that they draw women is different than the young guy. Now, the young guy wants to draw Deadpool, or he wants to draw kind of like
Yep.
a hot babe. But women love drawing women. It's very typical if you teach a young female artist, they're much more comfortable drawing women than they are drawing men.
That's true. That's very true.
I wanted
And-
to. I'm sorry, Alberto. I'm not trying to cut you off, but I had this ley line going through this conversation, thinking about how when we started talking about the different types of creative artists and how that comes across the threshold of comic books and comic book fans, and I'm not knocking comic book fans or fandom, but there's such a weird cross reference of titillation and hero worship and fine art and studying the subject as an art form sometimes gets lost in that. So the fact that you have people who go, oh, they don't get you because they don't understand why you're drawing the woman that's not sexual in nature. You know, that kind of throws some people off because they don't understand what they're here for.
Well, it's sexy, but not, you could say
Right.
sexy, but not sexual. And that is
right.
That's a barometer.
Even like naked and nude, you know, and just like any type of art school, you know, conversation you have to have with people on day one about why are we studying the form at all? Why isn't the model wearing clothes? Why is that important? You know, what I mean? So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there, Alberto.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I mean, I it's hard to. I remember Richard Corbin. You may remember him too. He was an excellent artist, and he actually was very honest about that whole, you know, male female thing. And I remember I didn't get this back in the day when he was active, but after he died, I saw a lot of his writings about it, you know, or interviews he did. And in one interview, they asked him about that, you know, the male-female situation, why he drew these women with gigantic breasts and the shaped vaginas and everything was massive and sexual at the core. It was like, right? And the males, actually, they have gigantic penises and they were very, you know, male-like, you know, almost like a bodybuilder type. I don't think I found obviously as a teenager found that extremely sexual, right? As growing up with that stuff, I was like, yeah, that's pretty out there. But in my later years, I remember now that I'm older, when I looked at that stuff and I read what he wrote, his thing is very simple. It's like, why do you do it so titillating and so sexual? And he said, no, to me, I want to exaggerate the differences between. I don't know, extrapolate, making it so apparent that it's ridiculous. I'm a cartoonist, so I want for people to see a small panel in the comics where just the shape is there from far. They're walking and you can see, and you know that that's a woman, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like that made total sense to me, you know, because it's not about the sex. And he confronted sexually. He said, yeah, I mean, I'm a male and I'm sexually, you know, attractive to the female. That just happens to be what it is. So definitely I'm gonna draw, you know, what I consider attractive and sexual, because we all kind of have that in that kind of thing, that teenage, how do you call it? Yeah, like we almost like, no matter how old you get, you still have that mental purity thing. You know, you love women, you're attracted to them, and you have that. So I don't escape that either myself. But I have come to the realization, if you will, that no matter what you do, even if I drew a woman perfectly still, which most of my poses are repose and just chill. I don't do sexual poses per se, right? But if the woman is just resting and holding a cigarette, that is sexual already. You know what I'm saying? If she's naked, she's already sexual. If she's not naked, she's already it's a sexual. She is a sexual being. That doesn't mean that you're objectifying, right? Unless that's your purpose. You know, you want to, titillate, but you're just representing what's there. And to me, it doesn't affect me to draw, because I usually, by the way, I use my wife a lot in my drawings, but a lot. And I take my own pictures. Sometimes she posts for me, but no one would know because I switch faces and do bodies type changes. But I no longer see sex, and when I'm actually drawing in the process of the technical aspect of drawing, right? The muscle, the thing. But still, she happens to be a sexual person, a sexual being. It's not going to change. Even if she wears, my wife, if she wears a sheet over her head, the shape will still make me think, whoa, that's just a woman, beautiful and whatever, and perhaps, but not much we could do about that, right? The sexuality is going to be there. Now, if we want to be overtly sexual when we do our, representing that's a total difference. Anybody can do whatever, me, I do what I do. And if people think that is absolutely, that's sexual or that is objectifying women, not much I can do. I would disagree with that personally, because you have to see one's preoccupation, if you will, with the subject, right? And if you don't see that in my work, then to me that's fine. But that's what I think I bring to the table.
I also think that sex and sexuality and what is sexy and all that, it's also subjective, right? Because what passes for sexy in New York City is one thing, Tokyo another thing, Sub-Saharan Africa another thing. It's all context. It's context.
It's all context, right? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I want to be mindful of the time, so I have a question, and then I want to talk about the Kickstarter. All right. So, one of our day ones, Eternity Forever, asks, Alberto, how long do you study people with extreme weight? And is it easier or more difficult with your anatomy knowledge to draw kind of heavier or, subjects?
I don't know. I don't approach it that way. I really don't. I think either it could be like this, right? The way I see it. For the most part, I have to say before anything, disclaimer. I don't draw as many women with overweight or what you call it, exercise plus whatever. Because that's a thing now. Some people do whatever. I don't have fetishes. That's basically it, right? So if I'm interested in form, absolutely nothing else. So in my book, you will see, and I'm not plugging the book per se, but if you happen to not that you buy the book, but if let's say somebody else bought the book and you want to check, and you'll get to see in there, you'll see there's some women with weight there, with heavy weights, if you want to say that, and then there's women are skinny. There anything in between, right? So to me, it's form. I'm not. I have a couple of friends who are into just drawing. In the world, it's like, let's just draw the fatty girls and this and that. We gotta give them love too, and this is like, to me, they got the body conscious thing or whatever that is. I really don't care much for that. I think in terms of form. So if I find that's and I do find heavy set women attractive enough to draw. Attractive in the sense like, yeah, that's challenging. That's cool to draw. That is that's the form I'm after. That's it. So it doesn't matter to me if it's just 90 pounds or 300 pounds. I really don't. Honestly, I don't care much of that. So I do draw heavy set women. Yeah, I do. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a if the how long is the study? I mean, no, I don't think I need to study much for that personally because form is form. So if I already know how the muscles work, right? At least in the studies of anatomy, that the few things I know about the body, I have a pretty decent idea of how the flesh is going to fold and that sort of stuff. So more reason for me to find that attractive and challenging to draw, because by the same token, I draw women who are older a lot. I find that extremely for an artist, it's absolutely necessary to draw either weight, and age, because there are things in there. I mean, I'm talking about, let's not even muscles, right? When it comes to women or heavyset women, the way the muscles, grab the bone and how they pull down the body, because gravity is for real.
Yeah.
That will teach you how that works, and then you can use that information when you draw a, let's say typical body, so
Typical American, typical obese American, right? You can,
no, you can learn a lot from that, and you can learn a lot from drawing an older person. A lot. I mean, a lot you can draw, because
the older people, I think, are fun to draw. The hardest thing to draw sometimes, I think, is the perfect young 20-year-old woman, because she got nothing on her face. It's like you draw the eyes and the mouth and 2 dots for the nose, unless she has a weird nose or something,
Personally, I'm not interested in drawing like very young people. I'm not. I don't. For me personally, I'm not telling anybody anything. Me, I'm not interested in that, because there's no real challenge in that. There's absolutely nothing. It's so. Right. It's so, yeah. The muscles have not been developed. If there's, I have no fetishes, but if I would say what's my favorite body type, I would say not a body type, but quite possibly a woman that's 30 plus, 35 or so plus. I enjoy that a lot, because there's a lot there, muscles and bones and things that you can explain, and you can further understand the human body, right? And that at the end is what I'm concerned about. Of course, I am sexually, driven. That's basically life, but it has dictated for the most part. Yeah, sorry. I think you went off a little bit. I am a sexual being like anyone. Yeah.
All right, thanks. We have another question, and then I want to plug the Kickstarter. Then we'll get out of here. Thanks, Eternity. Our buddy Notorious JRD asks, this is a tool question. Alberto, you get amazing forms and values from your colored pencils. What type of pencils do you prefer? Waxy or chalky core colored pencils?
Yeah, I think I will go with the chalky core. Yeah, the hard. For instance, the Color Rays pencils that we use in animation a lot. That I love. I think that's pretty much the only pencil I use. The blue and the green, the Color Rays. In the beginning, I mean the what you call it? Carmine red.
The Carmine red, yeah.
The blue and the indigo blue, because they're two. There's one that's called blue, just blue, which is kind of cool. And then you have the indigo blue, that's a little darker blue. but I think that's it. And if you see any of my drawings with color, they're probably two colors. I don't, color pencils. I don't use them much. So most of my work is purposely. I actually limit my color palette to a few things. And yeah, but the waxy type not my thing. Except when I'm like if I'm putting maybe some highlights around somewhere, right?
Mhm.
But to actually draw, I use the Color Rays brand.
Very cool. All right, thanks. We're kind of running out of time, but Alberto, one of the main reasons we asked you on is you're in the middle of a fantastic Kickstarter campaign. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Oh yeah, that's going great. I'm as surprised as anybody. I think that it went so well, but it's pretty cool the response I gotten from that. I'm not the one putting together the book, as you know. I'm out of the publishing industry, so I let this cat. His name is Spiridon Giannakis. He's actually published stuff with design books for other people, for main like
It's 10
people
o'clock.
like Kim Jin Ji and people like that. He's got
Okay.
that credentials. He's a great designer, graphic. When it comes to the books, definitely I was there say way better than me. Now one of the things that I love about that is that I don't have to do anything. I just give them, just like when I used to do the brand studio stuff, and I used to tell the artists, "Don't worry about it. I'll design. I'll do the whole thing. Just give me the 48 image." No, I'm giving them 400. Now this I would never do. I would have never in brand studio days. I would have never done. The first thing I told him when he said let's do a 400 pages. First words out of my mouth were, "Are you out of your mind?" Yeah, seriously. I said that, and I said, "Look, if I have 400 pages in my brand studio days, I will get 10 books out of that easily." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because my books were 48 pages, all of them, right? I never had a book of me personally, or most of the people I do. All these books are very skinny and 48 pages. So that was a totally different thing for me to do it. So I decided to do it in a way that would be chronological. So I included the earlier sketches, the early books. I put in the first. It's almost like an anthology type of thing without being an anthology, because I don't have that much work. But I had enough to do 400, and the beauty about the book, at least for me, from my end, the Kickstarter, is that there is I kind of have control over to a degree, right? They're still designing the stuff, but it's still my book, and I have a say on it, and it goes directly to the people, which is something I've always, been interested in. So yeah, I'm happy about it, and I can't say I don't know, because at the end, I don't know how if we're going to be doing more books like that, but I think the experience has been great so far. But so
So
right
when
now,
will it be out? When will people get the book?
well, the campaign is ongoing right now. It started in February 2nd, so it's going to end in March 4th, I think.
Right, but you're already funded. You said you're already.
Yeah, we're funded on the same day, I think, and within an hour we get funded. So
That's fantastic.
Which only means that that's what I was talking to Jamar before the podcast. I said that I was just dreaming that thing just get funded. I was like, get funded. So this all I'm in a totally new territory. I never dreamed that it was gonna be that big. Never. I mean, meaning we already have over 800 orders for the book. I'm not talking about the money that's been, because that always we have plenty of people to pay and all that stuff. But the fact that it goes directly to the people, that I love that. It goes directly. They get free sketches. They get whatever book plates. I can control that. if I can control, that's great. I love controlling the. I'm a control freak. I think it's part of me. So to be able to have a say in the product and give people a really good product, I think I love that. I love when you can do that.
So this is sort of
So
like
I'm
a drawing, like a timeline from the beginning of your self-publishing all the way until now.
That's a great look on his face to
Yes,
freeze
it's
away.
like
He's like,
I am done.
I hope he pops back. But yeah, our boy Bross just says that his campaign's already 300% funded, and it's only been going a couple of days. So, and I know that Alberto has talked a little bit about stretch goals and things like that. It's just all really exciting, and I'm just happy to, like support our buddy who's doing magnificent work. I can't even explain how good Alberto is, and everybody knows that.
I know, and he's always stuffing his Instagram feed full of like awesome drawings and process.
Yeah, and I've been putting in the chat, Mike, and maybe he'll pop one so we can say goodnight. So you can please follow Alberto on Instagram. He also has a Patreon. And it's stuff that's easy to find online. But yeah, this is a big part of what Pencil to Pencil is about. Mike and I talk a lot about mastery of craft. Alberto was a perfect example of that.
Oh yeah, he's definitely a master of the medium, master of the form, and I think what is also really interesting is to see that it's like a compulsion. When I met him, I could tell here's another artist who was very compulsive about the process and the joy of drawing,
Mm-hmm.
and drawing what he's interested in. And there's a lot of pressure too if you become popular.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You see people, then they go like, "Oh, I want to commission you to draw what they want." Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really been very good at being able to avoid that. Right? Like a lot of people, like, "Oh, I want you to draw me a Batman. I want you to draw me," and he's like, "No, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I'm interested in."
Yeah, I love it. And like when we first met, and I'd be in attendance with Alberto, it was awesome to watch him talk to people because like you said, he has such a strong conviction about what he wants and what he's doing.
Yeah.
That you have to respect it, and he, like you said, he doesn't really bend to requests. So and I don't want to say it's not about the money, because with a lot of us, it's like, this is what I'm comfortable doing and this is what I won't do. And I think that's really special.
Right. And then, then again, because of what he's interested in, if he starts drawing all those commissions of, Harley Quinn and Batgirl and, whatever, then that's what people will shift their interest to too.
Mm-hmm,
Also, like, well, I'm not interested in your thing. Right.
Right.
People are coming to get out to check out Alberto's work because of his vision.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily his vision tailored to somebody else's
right
characters or commercial craft, which is not easy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hold on, I'm going to bring him in so we can say goodnight. Alberto, okay. Here you go. Hey, brother, we got you back.
Yeah, sorry about that. That internet played my internet provider played a trick on me. But I want to thank you for the opportunity to have this chat, because I've been a fan of the podcast. I've been this man gave me my first job in the industry. I love saying that. I always call you boss, because I always every time I think of you, I think of like we did that magazine, Draw Magazine article thing, and that got me so many people interested in my work. So I'm thankful to you for that. Absolutely.
Well, I'm thankful that you agreed to do it. I mean, like I said, when I saw your work, I was like, what is this guy doing? And you're telling me you're working in Illustrator. And to me, when I think of Illustrator, I think of like, schematics or a logo or something. And you were doing stuff that didn't look like I had seen anybody else do with Illustrator, even to this day.
I think there's people use what they're what they're somewhat good at, right? Because that's all I used before. But in reality, that now you can see that, because at that time, and I don't make it longer because I know you have to go, but at that time, that's all I knew. That's all I knew. So, in a really crazy way, I was thinking cartooning is easy because I can use Illustrator and I can use bold shapes, just shapes, right?
Mhm.
But I had no idea what I was getting into. And it was really, really more difficult than I thought, to represent the human body using only shapes and lines and flat colors. It's quite something, right? But that's what I had at the time. Because if you now, you see my so-called career coming, in that. Now, what I do now exactly, they don't like a 360, like a 180, and then a 360 and another loop. Because now I haven't done Illustrator stuff or flat color in forever, right? So if you look at the stuff I'm doing now, it's so pencil, so charcoal is more organic. It has nothing to do with those days, absolutely nothing. So that is the trip, right? Because I wanted to get in with this knowledge of form and the design type of thing. Because doing logos for a life, for pretty much all my life, right? Because you have to remember, when I started doing the figure drawing thing, I was already 40. I was already 40 years old. So not that I didn't draw before or anything, but I wasn't good at drawing the human form, because I was focused more on the design aspect of it. So, flat color was big for me. It's like that's what logos are made of, right? For the most part, very rarely you could find back in the day somebody did a logo with gradients and stuff like that.
Right.
I was considered cheap if you did it like that, like plumber and stuff. But if you're in the corporate world where I worked, it was all bold shapes, basically very limited color palette, right? Which is what I do. That's my trademark, so to speak, and sharp angles, curves, Bezier curves, that sort of stuff. So for that to now, it's a journey and a half. It's just crazy, but you see the trajectory. I mean, I didn't put any on purpose. I didn't put any vector stuff in the book, because it didn't have a place, right? It was more, everything is more, But the first drawings are there. My first doodles of the human form when I first started, which are very cartoony, because I love cartoons, right? So that's the journey is really, really, really something else. What I love the most about this book is that I didn't think of this, that there was a curve, right? There was a trajectory that I never saw because I was too busy doing stuff, whatever.
Right.
Now that I had to compile that stuff and put it together, I see that, I started like this: lines, cartoons, shapes, form, and slowly I'm going into a little bit of anatomy here and there, and then because I'm afraid to tiptoeing into this shading, doing, rendering. And then you go into the last 4 or 5 years is all full rendering, charcoal, this and that, more organic stuff, organic like crazy. Then this almost maniacal need to get the strokes really fast and get the stuff almost like with that immediacy that the medium wants. I want to represent that in its form, like big strokes, bold, as the human being is, right? So it's amazing to see that whole thing in one book. That's the best thing. So if anybody buys a book, if I see them in the street, I will draw in the book. If they contact me, if they buy the book through the Kickstarter and it's
if they go down to Ecuador,
yeah.
they look you up. You come to your house and be like, draw.
Look me up and I'll draw you something so you can put in that book. If you didn't get the book with the drawing, I'll find you and I will draw you something in that book if I get to meet you. And I say that because I'm so far away, you probably won't never get to me. But
well, thank you so much, Alberto. You've been fantastic. Yeah, and Alberto, do you think you're going to come back to the States anytime soon to do shows or anything?
Not because the thing is, I don't think I can afford the States. I have 4 children, so
yeah,
that's going to be difficult. It was difficult to get to feed 6 people in a salary of a cartoonist. I don't know how you people do it, but
well, Alberto, I'll tell you that I backed the book a couple of days ago. I can't wait. I'm going to take my Disney Illusion of Life book and throw it on the floor and put your book in its place.
Yeah, I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. But thank you. You're going to need that. You're going to need some shelf space, definitely. I think it's 4.5 inches wide. I think.
Wow, I can't wait.
For me, no, maybe not 4 inches, 4 millimeters, no, 4 centimeters, which is like about 1.5 inches, I think. Still, you can hurt somebody with that thing.
Yeah, that's my intention.
Hey, listen. In all seriousness, I had a cataract in one eye at one point in my mid-40s, and so I went to the doctor because I started, it became, a thing that I couldn't deal with. So the doctor said, "Oh, you have a cataract." So I said, "Yeah, well, I'm old, right? I'm over 40." He said, "No, this one has nothing to do with it because cataracts form when you're." I go, "Oh wow! So what happened?" You must have gotten hit with something because it's something that goes
like an injury.
Of an injury, something. So and I remember that I got hit with one of those big books that they used to. You go to the Strand in New York and you buy this gigantic Taschen books. Remember, like really cheap Taschen books. Yeah. Back in the day, I had a Taschen book on. I don't even remember what it was. There was a cheap you buy it, whatever. So I had this, and at one time I was reaching and he fell right on my eye. I remember it went, and then when she said that, I was like, "Oh shit, yeah." I remember I got hit over with a volume such as mine. It was 400 pages too. So I was like, "You got to be careful with that book when you get it, though. Make sure you don't put it up there.
I'll have to wear my goggles.
Keep it low. Maybe you can use it as a door stopper for sure. I can tell you that.
He said keep it low. All right, bro. We're gonna put this to bed. Alberto, you've been fantastic. Thank you, bro. Hang out with us while we do Kirby Hands.
Sure. No problem.
So I put into the chat, guys. Next week we're gonna take the week off, but we'll be back on the 23rd with cartoonist Kayfabe's own Jim Rugg, one of my other favorite cartoonists. I'm very excited. And Jim has a new project at Marvel that he wants to talk about. So, you get only top tier talent on Pencil to Pencil. What are you waiting for? For all the new eyes tonight, please, if you checked it on YouTube, thumb up this episode, like, subscribe, hit the alarm button so you get notified every time we go live, and be part of the army. We can't do this stuff without you.
Stalk us.
Yeah, he can stalk you. So, all right, guys, for Alberto, my boy Mike Manley, and our disembodied head Brett Blevins smiling down upon us.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mr. Fetchin, the studio cat. We're going to say goodnight. Thank you so much. And you know what to do now, Alberto. Put them up. Don't forget to wash those curvy hands. Put those hands up, Alberto. Where the hands at?
I'm doing it.
Oh, look at it. That's beautiful. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you
All right.
in 2 weeks.